Well, if it's an old Jabba the Hutt. You green-looking slug. What? Sorry, I don't understand Huttese. If you're gonna speak in the junk room, you gotta speak plain English, or nobody's gonna understand you around here. I don't know where your hookah pipe is, or your bass, or your little prisoner string, you S&M freak. You were gonna be what? No, we all know the story. Lucas just got some extra to stand in front of Han Solo, Harrison Ford, and he was gonna draw you over with some kind of cartoon alien or puppet or something. That big guy in the movie, that human, was never gonna be in the original cut of Star Wars. Hey, if George Lucas says it, it's true.
George Lucas is full of shit.
What do you guys think? Was George Lucas going to replace the actor in the deleted Jabba scene? Well, let's talk about it. You know, there's something that always kind of bugged me about the deleted scene from Star Wars A New Hope, and that was the scene with Jabba. Now, as many of you know, probably heard also, that the plan was to film this scene with a human, and then Lucas was going to go back, the guys over at Industrial Light and Magic, was going to map over the actor with some kind of alien creature. They didn't know at the time that it would be this looking Jabba, but they knew it would be something. And Lucas said that dude, they could never get this done right, so they decided to delete the whole scene altogether. And we've all heard this, I'm sure, but there's something about that scene that really bothered me. Why did they have this actor dressed up in a costume and everything if they were just going to replace him later? Why not just get some stagehand to stand there and say his lines so Harrison Ford could have somebody to interact with? Did they really need to do a costume design for someone that was going to be turned into Jabba the Hutt? No, it doesn't seem like that was the plan at all, although that's what Lucas says the plan was. It seems that they shot this scene, wasn't happy with it, and deleted it, and then retooled the Greedo scene so they could have some of the same dialogue said in the Jabba Han scene, so we could get the whole understanding in the Greedo and Han scene. Han owed Jabba money, and this is why he took on the passioners of Luke and Obi-Wan to the Alderaan system. But you're not just going to take my word for it, so let's dig into it a little bit more. Let's take a look at what George Lucas had to say on the Making Magic CD-ROM.
Well, when I first shot the scene with Jabba the Hutt, I knew I was going to create some kind of stop-motion creature to be Jabba the Hutt. I didn't at that point have a creature designed. Phil Tippett and John Bird were working on the picture, and they were going to come up with an idea for a character for Jabba the Hutt. I had to have somebody, an actor, play the part, so Harrison had somebody to play against. So we just picked a big guy and put him in a fuzzy vest.
It's a total fabrication.
I, at that point, felt that he may be a character somewhat like Chewbacca, a big furry character. We shot that. As we were cutting the movie, realized relatively quickly that we didn't have the time or the money to actually shoot that scene, that ILM was pressed way beyond what it could pull off as it was. So I had to abandon that sequence pretty early on. I had to cut back on the special effects shots and that sort of thing because ILM just couldn't handle it.
Well, that's it. That's why the scene was cut. Case closed. We can go home now.
He's full of shit.
What's that, Salacious?
You were going to tell everybody how George Lucas is full of shit.
Oh, yeah. I was going to tell you how we don't believe the George Lucas story here. First off, they just picked some guy and threw a costume on him and threw a furry coat on him. This seems very unlikely. They didn't just pull some fat guy that was eating a bologna sandwich over by the catering truck. No, this was an actor that they handpicked for the scene. Actor Deacan Mahalland, hope I pronounced that right, was already a working actor before he got the part that would be cut from Star Wars history. He already had over 10 films to his acting resume, and he had over 5 acting roles in TV shows. Lucas said they just picked a big guy and put him in a fuzzy vest. This seems a little hard to believe that we have an actor that was around for at least 10 years and had a handful of work, when they could just save a lot of money, grab some random guy and put a vest on him.
You little pumpkin pie haircutted freak, come on.
And what about this fuzzy vest they just threw on the guy? Does it look like they just found a fuzzy vest? I mean, I'm a guy with a closet full of fuzzy vests, and I don't have anything like that. That's my personal closet. We're not talking about that closet. Anyway, let's take a look at this fuzzy vest. Star Wars was on a modest budget. I mean, they were already strapped for cash, and Lucas many times had to go back to Fox to ask for more money. So it seems as their plan was just to throw some kind of stop motion creature over this actor. Why spend so much money for a costume? If you're looking at these photos here from the deleted scene, you can tell it's more than just a fuzzy vest that they found laying around. And being the size of this actor, it's not like they found some other costume that was unused. This thing seems like it was made for the actor to appear as Jabba the Hutt. One of the best making of Star Wars books to come along in the last 100 years is the Making of Star Wars book by Jonathan Razzler. Here's the cover right here. This book goes into a lot of detail about the making of Star Wars, but in this book they mention no single meaning or even a reference that Jabba was being considered a special effect at the time. It seems that if the plan was to do a stop motion character over this actor, they would have been some sketches or storyboards before the filming of this scene. But the only sketches we've seen of Jabba the Hutt is the costume seen in this scene. And let's talk about the scene itself. If their plan was to put some kind of stop motion character in this scene here, it would have been a nightmare. I mean, you got Harrison Ford walking around the character. You got Harrison Ford touching the character. I think even the character of the human Jabba even touches Harrison Ford. This was hard work for them even in 1997. So it's unlikely that in 1977 or 76 when this was filmed, that they would allow Harrison Ford to interact so much with the Jabba character if they were just going to replace it. He wouldn't have walked behind him, and he damn sure wouldn't have touched him. Being the way that this scene was filmed, it doesn't seem at all that they were setting up any kind of special effect. At least not anything that would have been possible to do in 1976.
It's an urban legend that never happened.
So why was this scene cut out if it wasn't because they couldn't put an alien in place of the human actor? Well, it seems the scene just looked horrible. According to an interview with Gary Kurtz, this is what he said about filming the scene. The original idea was Jabba the Hutt scene was supposed to be there in the script, but it was a guy, a human being, this sort of fat guy. And the scene was pretty much, dialogue-wise, exactly what you see in the special edition. But it was a person that was there, and we had technical difficulties with that scene. We shot it over 3 times for camera problems, focus problems, and film stock problems, and then abandoned it because we ran out of time. We just said, well, the bulk of the information that comes across in that scene about Jabba threatening Han Solo and wanting his money and all of that, we could get across in the scene in the cantina with Greedo. So it seems they cut this scene because they had problems with filming it. Again, film problems, not because they couldn't add a cartoon monster in the scene. And it seems they also rewrote the Greedo scene or added some dialogue to it to get across the information that was needed in the Jabba scene. And that's why this scene added back into the special edition just seems out of place or not necessary, because a lot of the same information is repeated in this scene that we heard just a few minutes before in the Greedo scene.
Drop this consignment at the first sign of an Imperial starship. It's not good business.
Look, Jabba, even I get boarded sometimes. You think I had a choice? Even I get boarded sometimes. You think I had a choice? Look, Jabba, even I get boarded sometimes. You think I had a choice?
But George Lucas had final say of what to cut and what not to cut. Why did George Lucas want this scene cut out? Well, in an interview with the Making of Star Wars book, Star Wars editor Richard Chew said this about why George Lucas cut the scene. George thought it was too many phony-looking green Martians that looked just like Greedo in the background. And it seems editor Marshall Lucas also confirmed this in the 1983 Making a Return of the Jedi book. George had never liked the scene Jabba was in because he felt that the casting was never strong enough. There was an element, however, that I liked a lot because of the way George had filmed it. It made Han Solo a real macho guy, and Harrison's performance was very good. I lobbied to keep the scene, but Jabba was not terrific, and Jabba's men, who all looked like Greedo, were made of mold green plastic. George thought they looked pretty phony, so he had two reasons he wanted to cut the scene: the appearance of Jabba's men and the pacing of the movie. You have to pick up the pacing of an action movie like Star Wars, so ultimately the scene wasn't necessary.
Silly Jedi, silly Jedi.
Yeah, that scene always kind of bugged me also. The Jabba, you're a wonderful human being. And I agree with you. We all know you're not wonderful. It seems in 1997, a lot of fans says the jokes here in this scene is that Han would call him a human being. But it seems originally, this joke when it was first written, is the wonderful part. That he's calling Jabba wonderful, not that he's calling Jabba a human. If they shot this scene and planned to superimpose a stop-motion puppet over the actor, why have Han say this line?
Jabba, you're a wonderful human being.
Well, I think we've covered it enough. I think we all can agree that this original scene with the human actor was filmed the way it was supposed to be filmed. That we would see a human Jabba the Hutt if filming the scene turned out the way they wanted. So it makes you wonder how things would be today if we had a human Jabba in Star Wars back in 1977. How did you look in the Star Wars Marvel comics? Ooh, this alien here was seen in the background during the Mos Eisley scenes. So it seemed like they took this concept of this alien, maybe changed it and tinkered it a little bit, for the Jabba in the Marvel comic book series. One of the best early Marvel comics is Whatever Happened to Jabba the Hutt. Read it if you get a chance. And look next to Jabba. Whoa, a real blue snaggletooth. A real blue snaggletooth. It looks like Snaggletooth, but he has blue skin, not just wearing blue clothes. What a crazy looking Jabba. Makes you wonder if they did have that Jabba in the movie, what the Kenner toy would have looked like. Hey Hasbro, if you're doing the retro series with new toys we never got, give us a Marvel looking Jabba the Hutt. That would be kind of cool. I'm going to have to disagree with you there, you fat slob. Anyway, that's a look at the deleted scene from A New Hope of the human Jabba. Tell me in the comments below, what do you think? Am I wrong? Do you think the whole plan all along was to superimpose some kind of cartoon alien over this human actor? Man, I feel sorry for this actor. He was always did small roles and stuff like Doctor Who and some movies, and here's his chance. He's got a great speaking part in Star Wars, and it's left on the cutting room floor. Biggs ended up on the cutting room floor, but at least he still has some scenes in the film. This poor guy never did.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.